are you guys doing today?
Really good.
Good. Thank you.
And we meet again.
Right?
Yes.
Right. So many times. And the thing is that when first time I interviewed both of you was for Finding Her Beat, and I
Mhm.
always mentioned that I will see you again. I got to I got Dawn once again for another documentary,
Minnesota Mean.
Minnesota Mean, and then we got to see each other again for Finding Her Beat on the theatrical release, and now we're here again for another.
Unstoppable.
It's unstoppable. Yes, that's amazing. And let's go ahead and talk about the upcoming film that you guys are working on, this Uncle Roy, and what inspired you both to bring this story to the people.
Sounds like a
Well,
Keri question.
it Roy helped inspire my entire life. I'm outside and I'm sorry, there's a plane.
No worries, no worries.
Sorry. Um, and when I was little, he introduced me to the magic and mystery of photography just simply by having his pictures on the wall. And I got to see them when I was a teenager and going through New York with my grandmother. And we did a visit there, and he was like a stranger to me. I really didn't know him growing up at all, but I knew of him. He had given me this photo of himself when I was about 5 years old, and I kept it on my dresser all my growing up years. And so he was somebody who was fascinating to me in a very mysterious way. And so I think that the fact that he was a photographer helped inspire me to be a photographer. And then finding all of his 8 millimeter films and looking at them helped turn me into a filmmaker when I made The Fabulous Ice Age.
Okay.
And I would throw out there that I met Keri and Roy. Well, I met Keri first, but Roy soon afterwards because they were together. They shared the studio. Keri invited me in along with a bunch of other filmmakers. And, when you entered their shared studio, it was like, oh my God, something amazing has happened here. So many amazing things have happened here. So they're, so inspiring just on the work and the things and the beauty. But as I started working on this film with Keri, I will say that two things stand out to me. One is the importance of, as a queer person, the importance of our history, and that not disappear. That there are people throughout time, queer folks, who have changed the world, and Roy is one of those people. And his impact was bigger than I think anybody really understood, or at least very few understood, and we hope more will soon. But I will also say there's something about legacy and our elders that really connects for me with this film. It's like my parents are getting older. Um, I'm surrounded by folks who are transitioning into their later years, and that question of what what you leave behind, be that your things, be that your stories, and there becomes this urgency, I think, as we get older of like, how will we be remembered? How will we, go on? And, Roy's story is kind of a, a, a much bigger version of that with 44,000 pieces of theatrical figure skating to contend with. But, I think that if you've ever cared for an elder or helped somebody downsize as they move, as they get older, you're like, what do we do with all of the things that mean so much to them? And,
Mhm.
it's a question that I think a lot of people are going to have. So,
And where the idea came to do the Kickstarter, because I know that is one of the things that we are promoting, that is the Kickstarter campaign. I do see, I have it right here with me. Um I do see that you are already at 10K, 30K for almost to reach the, not, there's still long way to go, but we're getting there. But where did the idea came to do the campaign, and plus all of these different pledges that bring different things to the people that assist on the Kickstarter?
Um,
Well,
oh, go ahead.
I think that the need to let people know about our project is not quite as important as the need we have for the funds to finish the film, but they go hand in hand. And so it was really time for us to let people know that this film is in development and to try and build a community around it of people, because it does take a village to make an independent film. It's a huge task, and I think people just can't even begin to understand how every step is so expensive. And so we really approached it with this need to let people know about it, for to start growing our community. And then also we just basically can't do it by ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would say that, we both come off of we had a successful crowdfunding campaign for finding Heartbeat. I've had successful funding campaigns for Minnesota Mean and Risking Light. And yeah, that spirit experience of yes, it's a slog. However, we're a quarter of the way to our goal after one day, so we're feeling pretty good about that. But it's at the end, you end up with this community of folks who are cheering with you. And I think that filmmaking can sometimes be lonely, even when you have a partner, even when you're working with another person who's passionate about it. That extra bit of energy that an audience brings, and when they're like, this is our story too, we want this to happen. That helps you get to the finish line of a process that is expensive and time consuming. So there's that. I will say that the items that are available for the campaign, you've got your kind of typical rewards of, you get to see the film before everybody else, kind of thing. But then, we're in this unique situation where our two protagonists in the film, Roy and Keri, who is director and also a participant in the film, she's featured, um, have a body of work that is beautiful. And, so we are able to pull those items into this campaign. And I mean, I think Keri can speak to it better than I, but Roy knew we were going to do this. Roy has, passed last fall, but he knew where this was heading and offered to, that we could use some of his prints as rewards for Kickstarter backers. So these are one of a kind prints that he made.
That was going to be my other question, but thanks for answering. So whoever chooses the pledges that are I don't remember the amount, but the higher pledges that brings these prints, they're gonna be one of a kind prints that you can only get in the campaign if you pledge.
Yes, some of them I have a couple of copies of. Um, Maybe there's a couple of prints that have multiple copies, and I'm gonna be rolling those out over time. And then some of the prints, it's not there, all the prints are not necessarily equal. When their prints are signed, I'll be releasing some signed prints down the line, and those will be just a little bit more because he doesn't have very many that he actually signed the back of the print. And so it has been, and then a lot of the prints are going to be a little bit of a collaboration between he and I, because a lot of the prints he left were not spotted, and I will be spotting the prints. So we both will have touched the prints significantly before they go out the door. But gelatin silver prints are not easy to make. You have to have chemicals in a dark room, and it's not easy to make a beautiful print. And Roy was a master printer. And so these prints are not only gorgeous in their content and in their lighting, with these beautiful men's bodies being sculpted by Roy's lights, but they're also just beautifully executed. And that is just not easy. That's a piece of history. People are mostly offering digital prints now.
So you're saying this for maybe whoever sees this interview that is younger than myself, right? Um, so these are actual films that were printed on a dark room and with that process that goes with different chemicals, correct?
Yep, yep.
Amazing. And having that would be that is so amazing to have a piece of history. My next question for both of you is um and you can say I you can be as open as you want, being the fact that of being the fact on the times that we are now, how powerful do you both feel that this film might touch a lot of people's lives, and as well, not only that, tell a story to the community that has been with a lot of ups and downs? How do you both feel that you are working through all of this that is happening nowadays? And when this film comes out, it will touch somebody's heart or a lot of people's heart and maybe make a change in how people think, um, on how these people that are part of this huge community are.
Dawn, there's a plane coming. I'm gonna let you take this first one.
Um, well, I will say that I identify as queer myself, and I have experienced the last, particularly, I don't know, 6 months. Where are we at now? With a growing sense of concern. That is a light way of saying it. As I watch members of the queer community become targets. And I think that one of the things that is happening is that our history is being erased. You know, websites are being taken down, information is being, I don't know what they're doing with all of it. But this happens and has happened cyclically throughout time. And we're in one of those stages. So the idea of Roy's story, that is all about the importance of that history. It's all about the beauty of that history, the value of that history. Frankly, told through a person who is probably the most delightful human you'll ever meet. I hope that this film helps people really consider what's happening right now. But I also think that it's bigger than right now. It's we're in a point in time, and things will change. I'm a believer in that, and so I guess my hope is that people will embrace Roy's story as something more than just, a queer story. This is a story of a person um, who was so dedicated to beauty and so dedicated to the things that he felt were important. He wanted to figure skate from the age of, I don't know what, 10, Keri would have to tell me, maybe
10 or
younger.
11,
And
yeah.
and he started roller skating in Oklahoma because there were no ice arenas. Like, this is a person who saw what he wanted, had this throughout his life, had things that he thought were beautiful and important, and he went for them regardless of what the culture um, said was okay. And he did it in a open-hearted, beautiful way. And so I guess that's what I would love to see people embrace.
I think that right now the charge for artists is to make meaningful art about our world. And although I would have made this film no matter what political swirlings there were in the air, I do think that that this film has the potential of being a conduit and a doorway for people to walk through to say, oh, I have an uncle. They'll be able to enter this story in a way through me because of because everybody has a family. and wanting to care for their family and acknowledge their family history and everything. And so I think that my life and my sexuality isn't really mentioned or a part of the film. I identify as straight, but because of my work in the radical fairy community, I consider myself a huge ally. And to me, the film is not about the fact that Roy is queer. The fact that Roy is queer is one of the things in the film. It's a little bit like Finding Her Beat in that way,
Mm-hmm.
in that it was not the main part of the film, but it was in the film and integral. And I think that that film has opened doors and created bridges. And I really hope that Ucle Roy will do the same thing.
That's amazing. And how how I don't know if yeah, how difficult was it? Was it challenging to find the archival footage for the film? Besides talking to Roy, were there any other things that you needed to find that were a little bit challenging?
Yes, the amazing thing is that most of the archival film is Roy's, and he made it. He made it all around the world. He had an 8 millimeter camera, and so beautiful, amazing footage from his international days with skating with Holiday on Ice. And then when he moved to New York City, in 1968. There's beautiful footage of him skating at Rockefeller Center. That's the footage of him wearing the gold pants. And of New York, I mean, amazing, beautiful snippets. He was very frugal. And so his clips were very short.
Okay.
And so there's this beautiful clip of me in the film, and I think it's a whole 5 seconds long. And that's about what he would do. He would do about 5 and 6 seconds of things because he was frugal and it was expensive to have that film processed.
Okay. So
And he had an uncanny ability to edit in the camera. He found the beginning of the movement and he cut it right at the end. It was like he was editing in camera. And I would tell him through, as I would go through his amazing footage, I would just say, Roy, you could have been a filmmaker. You really have an amazing eye for editing. And to do it in camera is very hard.
so
But
so
it's
we
frustrating sometimes, right, Dawn?
It can be frustrating, but I think that Keri, your point is important, and I'm curious how this will come out as the film goes on. But we're talking about two very different worlds, between is it analog and digital, in the sense that, yeah, I mean, to your point, the footage, it was incredibly expensive to film, and so you had to do that. Whereas, we live in a time now where it's like you've got 15 gajillion photos in your cell phone, or your smartphone. And so there's pros and cons to both, I think. But I do think that, yeah, younger generations, I hope they can appreciate when they see this film the amount of effort that it took to get those images and to preserve those images. It's a different world.
we can all say that Roy was the father of TikTok.
Definitely of selfies. That dude took a lot
Exactly.
of selfies.
That is so amazing. Yeah, one of the reasons it's so interesting that we're talking about so many things that were in the past, and the film, the the reels for certain cameras. And it, while you guys were mentioning all of these things, I remembered that I think it was a few days ago. I went with my family to Walmart, and I was at the camera section. I'm like, I looked down. I'm like, why is there disposable cameras on the bottom?
Yeah.
And when that exact, I think the next day I started seeing that it's now popular. There's like this person in social media that gives people his address and a disposable camera like that he can go ahead and develop the film, and then he posts it in social media, like what pictures did they take.
Oh,
So it's
that's fun.
so it's really amazing how old technology is being coming back again now. Well, not only old technology, even old styles from the 80s and the 70s are coming back in fashion. So it's really interesting on that. And w- what are the next steps that you both are going to take with the success of the campaign, of the Kickstarter campaign? What will be the next steps for the project?
Well, the Kickstarter is specifically earmarked for our composer, Mealy Hay,
Okay.
to compose an original score for the whole film. She did the score for Finding Her Beat as well. And she's got a very cinematic style. And so also we have so much photography in the film. And some of the photography we'd like to animate and make
Okay.
come alive. And so we need money for a motion graphics artist and also, um, just the continuing of the fine cut. And then afterwards, we will have stretch goals for color correction and audio, um, an audio person to come and clean up everything and to sweeten what they call sweeten the
Mm-hmm.
sound. And so we also really need money to enter film festivals
Okay.
and for marketing and promotion. And the list is very, very long. But the Kickstarter, we really don't have a film unless we get that Kickstarter campaign in order to pay for the composer and the motion graphics. We don't have a film that we can present. And so it's incredibly important and urgent that we make this campaign.
Okay. And so in the case that you reach the goal, that I know that you will, that I have high hopes. I have really high hopes that it will. So after this goal, there will be you will have make this stretch goal a little bit more like that you guys can reach more and more things for the film. That's amazing. And wanted to ask, I think that was Dawn. Dawn mentioned, or I don't know if it was Keri, that Roy passed away a couple of months ago, right?
August 23rd of
August 23rd.
2024.
Oh, okay. So last year, almost a year.
Yes, 6 months, a
Six
little
months?
more than 6 months.
Okay. Again, I want to mention sorry for your loss, and
Thank you.
but I wanted to ask you both, when you both reach the goal of having the film completed, what you
I think if,
think. Uh-huh.
oh, go ahead. I'm like, we're gonna go. Go ahead, go finish the question.
um what words would you think that Roy would say when he would have seen this final product?
Oh, I know. He
Go
would
for it.
have said, lucky, 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 because that's what his words were about his life. And so to
Okay.
see his life up on the screen, I think he would say, lucky, lucky, lucky.
How about you, Don? Do you have an idea of what he would say?
I think she's right. I think it is lucky, lucky, lucky. I think that, he was aware of this film in all of its iterations. Keri's been working on this for, I mean, you could debate how long Keri's been working on this, right? Because it includes footage shot in, you know, in what before she was born, footage she shot in the 90s, that she didn't know was going to turn into a film. And there's this turning point where all of a sudden it becomes a film. But I mean, he knew for decades that this was happening and was, periodically would weigh in on it. I find those moments delightful. He's like, "How long are we going to be making this?" Yeah, the footage. So I think he'd also be pleased that it's happening and it's out in the world, right? Because it was something that he was a part of, and there are a couple moments where he's actually directing the cameras, and we have that on film as well, where he's talking to the cinematographer and not Keri, and be like, "Could you move over here just a little bit?" So he was a deep part of this project.
That's amazing. Don, Keri, thank you very much for your time to talk about Ucle Roy. I know that our next interview, it will be for the release of the film or when it runs in film festivals. And I will not say, I will say see you later. And thank you very much for giving us the time to talk about the film and the Kickstarter
Thank
campaign.
you.
Thank you, John. Appreciate you.
Yeah, it was
Bye-bye.
good talking to you again.